Hi kids, welcome to Terry on Tuesday. As you'll see, this one is going to be a slightly different one. You may remember about 5 months ago I did a split screen Zoom interview with a friend of mine, Richard Dursley, who's like me, making his own series of feature films. We had a great time last time, and we did promise to get back in touch 5 or 6 months later, and as it's 5 months later, we've decided to get together and talk about where we are with our respective films. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy this chat between myself and Richard about our films and everything else, and I'll see you at the end of the video. Leslie.
Hello.
Hello
again.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Last time we did this, it was like 1,000,000 degrees heat, and today is the absolute opposite of that.
That's
freezing.
I've got some notes written under here, and because I did rewatch our last video from 5 months ago, and the one thing we first said was how hot it was.
I remember sitting here and I was just sweating.
Yeah, me too. And I did say, well, I will never complain about it being cold, because you can warm yourself up. I'm actually complaining that it's cold now, so clearly I'm a liar.
I'm better with cold than heat. I do pretty well in this temperature. But
yeah, you did say. So at least you're consistent if I'm not. I have had my heating on briefly just to try and warm the place up because it gets blooming cold in here. Yeah. But yes, it was 5 months ago. It was August 16th, the last video.
Time flies, doesn't it?
Oh, blimey, yeah. I know we've missed many opportunities to do another interview like this. But we did say halfway through the video, we said something like, maybe we should do this every 6 months.
We did, yeah.
And it's 5 months, so that's not too bad, really.
No, I think I wanted to grab you immediately after your convention appearances with Marvin, and you were understandably exhausted, and I think that was when we last tried this. So
yeah. Well, for the viewers, hopefully they've been up to scratch with what's going on. Up to scratch? That's not the word. Up to snuff?
That's a word.
To date? I don't know.
Up to date. Yeah,
that'll do. But we are both sort of working on films, and we thought we'd sort of we talked about where we were last time, and you are literally about to start shooting your third film, aren't you?
Yeah. Yes, it's finally actually happening. Well, I said in the last video, obviously, but making a zero budget, actual zero budget, pretty much, movie called The 12th Day, and written before the pandemic, cast before the pandemic. Then the pandemic happened, and obviously some cast members moved on, did do other things, and some people don't even live near here anymore. Following 2 years of nothing, so an interesting period of contacting these people that I hadn't necessarily even spoken to for years, just saying, "Oh, remember when I cast you in that film 2 years ago? You still up for that?" And some of them were, some of them weren't, understandably. So recasting happened. So we managed to cast every role, and then the fear, I think, the anxiety set in. I think we briefly touched on last time of that, like, I haven't done this for a long time now,
right.
and when you don't do something for a long time, you start kind of doubting yourself, and you're like,
oh,
Zoom. God. Like Zoom, exactly.
How does this thing work? Zoom. Yeah. You do.
And it's like, oh, can I do this? Is this going to work? Is it worth, you start doubting yourself. And I just came to the conclusion that what I needed to do was basically do something that would force myself to start production. And it worked. I arranged a cast meeting in a pub in Bristol. I was like, let's all just meet up before we start filming. And I knew as soon as I met everyone was like, yay, let's do this. And I was like, okay, we're doing it. That's fine.
I take my hat off to you, sir, because that is one thing that I really need to do, is get more people together.
So daunting. I couldn't get everyone together.
No, it isn't.
Most people.
Again, if you're watching this video, basically, this is a kind of a two-way interview. Me and Richard are both making films, so we're both talking about both our films and just kind of comparing what situations we're in. And when it comes to, like you say, it feeling daunting after a long time and all this kind of stuff, we're kind of we're at a weird situation at the moment because you are ready to start, sort of shooting next weekend. I think you said
we're doing one of our first scenes, next weekend.
Yeah. Whereas I, in the last week or so, have had this massive crisis of confidence.
Oh, dude, that's where I was. That's literally where I was about a month ago.
Yeah. I even put a post up on my blog saying, should I just chuck all this in?
I did the same. I did the same. And that was after I'd cast people like you. I'd cast people, I was ready to go, and then it's just that doubt. And I really think, for me, it's just not doing things for a long time. It's just not being regular enough, I think. You fall out of something, and then you wonder if you can actually do it, even though you've done it before.
Yeah, but I think with me, I think it's, I'm a little bit impatient. And I was going great guns all through last year. I was, I bashed out 5 drafts of a script. I cast basically all the main characters, 8 or 9 people, and I was sort of bringing in little bits of money. And we've got a budget beginning to build and this kind of stuff. And talking to crew, and then November, December, and now into January, things just went as they would do at the end of the year. And the January is the worst month for anything,
of course.
But it hit me pretty hard, and I was like, I've hit a wall by here. I feel like I'm pushing this rock uphill on my own. I've sent emails out, and I've had phone calls with people to do with the film. Not so much cast, but just in general with everybody. And even I phoned some agents for slightly bigger name actors and stuff who made all the right noises saying, oh yeah, they were interested in this, let's get back to you after Christmas. And no one replies to your emails, and very little gets done, and you start feeling like, oh, this is a sign, I should, if I jack this in now, I can refund anyone who's put any money into my film. I'll still have my savings back and not have the hassle. It's one of those like, hey, what was Homer Simpson said? You've tried your best and failed. The lesson is never try. But weirdly enough, after a week of feeling a bit despondent, a few people have got in contact with me and said, dude, just take time out. Even if you're going to wait till
wrong with that.
Spring, you've got no deadlines. Just get other stuff that needs to be done first, and then put it on the, you don't have to just stop, but just put it on pause. And I think that's probably what I have to do, to be honest, because I know I'm going to regret it if I just jack it all in. I'll get to this time next year. I think you'll regret it. I should have made that film last year.
You've put a lot of time and effort into it, and it
I the last thing I want is to have another, because I've got 48 folders of books, TV, films, and all sorts of ideas and projects, all in various states of incompletion or whatever. And I'm like, I don't want another folder there saying, oh look, bloody students, something I was going to do
what might have been.
And again, we're all getting old. I just turned 53, for goodness sake, and it's like, if I don't get this done, when am I going to get it done? So it's good that you're actually forging ahead with the 12th day. Has anything changed in the last 5 months since we started with the story? Or, like you said, there's some new cast members, etc. So
there are,
new locations or new crew or anything.
Yeah, well, as I said, we're doing this on a micro budget, and once again, just very lucky, I guess, with venues. I mean, next weekend we're filming at New Cut Coffee, which is a lovely coffee shop on the waterfront or dockside down in Bristol.
Brilliant.
And just their film fans, they were like, yeah, we would love you to come film, for if you're happy to work with us. Obviously, we're going down first thing in the morning in January when no one's going to be around. But yeah, I mean, just, the charity of others and venues that are there.
Do you know what? That's awesome.
Put their name on it.
That's awesome, because it is.
It's rare.
I've probably said this before. We seem to be living in a world where people would find it easier just to say no, But I had a similar meeting at the end of the year I needed to find out about jewelry making, because in my film, one guy works for his dad in a jeweler's shop, and they cast a copy of The Key to Break into the Museum. And
Okay.
so I went to my local jewelers, and there's a tiny little jewelry shop. It's very nice, very cool. And I basically spoke to the guy there, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're doing. What you've sent me in the script, I sent him the page or the scene in the script,
Mhm.
and he said it's perfectly doable with the stuff we've got. We've got 2 workshops if you want to film here. We're not going to charge you, kind of
Amazing.
thing." And I was like, "Well, that's the first time I've had someone say, well, after Offworld, someone said just, hey, look, whatever we can do to help, just let us know." And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's taken it gives you a big vote of confidence,
Oh,
big boost.
absolutely.
And you're like, "Oh, thanks for that. That's great," because they didn't have to. They could have just turned around and said, well, you're not really interested and you can't film here. But it's like,
Yeah.
this is nice. It's nice to have a bit of support, locally or whatever. And again, I take my hat off to you for being able to get out there and speak to people about stuff and getting somewhere to shoot.
I think, yeah, we're just like I said, lucky with nice people.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, and obviously Janie has moved jobs now, so she works in a different pub. So we're planning on filming there,
Okay.
which will be nice. For It's kind of difficult, not for any particular reason, because obviously we love the Griffin. We've made 2 films at the Griffin, but it
Yeah.
was just we kind of feel like we want to change a venue, basically, because
Sure.
otherwise it feels like we're filming the same film. It feels like we're filming every film in the same
It would be your
location.
Cornetto,
So,
wouldn't it? It would be like,
yeah, kind of.
the
And obviously
Griffin
this one's not
films.
yeah, and this one's not a comedy. It's not kind of in line with the rest of the film. So it
Yes.
kind of felt like it'd be nice to do somewhere else if we
It's
can.
a fresh slate, isn't it? It's a clean slate,
Mhm.
and it's kind of like you said, it's a departure from the comedy stuff you're doing, and
Yeah.
it'd be nice to change up the locales and the
Mm.
I mean, it's going to be
Still in
for
Bristol.
people who are interested in Bristol will still go, oh, it's a different part of Bristol, so you don't need to shoot in the same place every time. Yeah. So, I mean, are you filming this in blocks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm filming it in blocks. I mean, this next weekend, again, next weekend is as much about the kind of regaining of confidence and just getting back into the swing of things.
Sure.
It's a couple of scenes that all take place in this coffee shop. Contained, it's the 2 lead actresses, and it's just a good opportunity to kind of get a feel for their connection, because they've only really met once in the pub.
Yeah.
It'll be nice to get that relationship on camera, and it's a nice controlled set where we can just do a nice couple of scenes. And yeah, I kind of feel like once we've got that first day down, everything will start falling into place. But yeah, generally, aside from that, everything is pretty much blocked out now. I'm much like you. I'm sure I took all the scenes, put it in an Excel spreadsheet, who is needed for what scenes, what props are needed for what scenes, what effects are needed for what scenes. And then obviously, because we're relying on, people giving up their time kindly to be in a movie, we don't want to waste their time and have people traveling down unnecessarily. So we're trying to block it together to where it's like, okay, I can get a minimum number of days for you to have to do this.
Yeah.
And just see who we can put together recently in a I would love to do a film in chronological order. I love the idea of that, but it
that
doesn't
would be good, wouldn't
work
it?
out that way.
Yeah. We had while you were talking there, we had 2 bits of robot voice that went. Oh
no.
I don't think it's interfered too much. Hopefully the recording will be okay. But if it happens really badly, I'll ask you just to retake it to say again. But so
we'll
far,
take as long as you want.
I think we're okay. Yeah. Now, again, this is kind of something that's led to my sort of recent despondency. Is basically when you mentioned getting a spreadsheet and working out who's got to be where and what props you've got. And I haven't got anyone to do that. I'm literally doing everything at the moment. I do have a co-producer, but he is way up north in Leeds, and he's more of a silent partner kind of thing. He's keen to sort of he's been in touch with the cast and getting their costume sizes and things like that. But as far as the logistics stuff and the planning, I haven't got any of that yet. I've got a potential production company to sort of shoot it and do the sound and all this thing. But we just need to sort of have a few more meetings before that's all been definitely decided on or not. So it does feel like I've got a million things to do. Just before Christmas, I don't know if you saw, I met a friend of mine, and he's an artist, and he gave me 3 A3 storyboard books.
Amazing.
Blanks. 3 of these A3 ones, and then another 2 A4 sized storyboard books. They're a lot smaller.
It's incredible.
But I mean, it's perfect timing because I want a storyboard. But even that, I haven't drawn a single storyboard this year, and I know many need doing. And it's like, when do I get the time to do this? It's like so much juggling to do. It's doing my brain in.
When you say many need doing, I'm always curious about this because, we do these things, I think, a lot of the time, certainly I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just learning as I go. So
yeah,
I storyboard certain scenes where I feel like they need storyboarding. I'm curious, true. Do you storyboard everything in your movies?
When I did Offworld, my plan was to storyboard everything. I did storyboard it from the very first scene all the way to, I think it was 2/3 of the film, and that was 350 storyboards.
Yeah.
The only reason I stopped is because we'd got into filming then. It was like,
right,
okay,
you were just busy.
Yeah. But I mean, I do a lot of storyboards on
oh, nice,
on Post-it notes. This is for a completely different project, but I've got, I mean, this is only for 6 minutes worth of film time. But, it's just like, this is more of a cartoon thing, but it's like, that takes a long time,
It does. It does take a long time.
I honestly, I think I'm going to do what you just said, and basically storyboard what needs to be done, because, any DOP or cameraman will just go, look, it's 2 people talking. We don't need the storyboard over the shoulder shots and all this. A 2-shot.
Well, and sometimes, from my perspective, I don't necessarily even know what these rooms are going to look like. Like I know, right? I've been offered this area, and it's like, okay, and then I'll go out. This weekend I'm going to pop down, have a look around, and just say, okay, that's broadly the space.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to have time between necessarily getting the okay from a venue and filming in a venue to sit there and storyboard everything without knowing the exact dimensions. You could, almost make this over elaborate, like you said, all of these shots, and then you get there and you're like, oh well, they're all out the window.
There's no similarity to what ends up on screen anyway, or your location. And I've got this with the film now, because when I started writing the script, my brain I'd gone and seen a venue in Newport, and I'm thinking this will be good for the place if I can afford it. So that was in my mind as I was writing the script. So I'm like, they run from this room across this corridor to there, and then they go to this bit, and then they go upstairs to this bit, and that's not necessarily going to be where we're shooting it. So when I gave my co-producer the script to read, he's like, how do they get from this room to that? And if they've run through this corridor, surely they'd bump into someone else who's at this. And I'm like, yeah, there's a bit of logistic kind of planning that needs doing. Either I need to build one of those little cardboard sets, that, and people go, I
mean, your movie is, well, it's not all, but primarily in one building, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you do have that issue of where people are really matters, because they're all in one building. Whereas, like, the 12th Day takes place in different locations around the city, so it's not they're not going to bump into each other. That's not an
exactly
issue.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely
it's
right.
claustrophobic for mine, because I've got, I think I've got like 8 students to begin with, and then for dramatic purposes' sake, you split them up into 2 groups to do different things. But then you've also got these reincarnated mummies wandering around, so it's almost like I need to get, like I say, a little cardboard set of it, and then get all my Star Wars figures off.
It could work
there, and just go, right, well, if they're going to be there at this scene, where are other things taking place? Because I'm more of a visual person, so I need to see. This is why I like storyboards, and why I like,
they're really useful.
I want to kind of have a visual reference straight away, rather than a pile of notes saying, oh, they're here and they're here. I'd rather just see it in front of me, even if it's like a Pac-Man map and little X's of all these people in certain
rooms. If it works
rooms.
for you, that's all that matters, isn't it?
Yeah. So one of the things that I did just before Christmas was I went to see my local community center, which is about a mile away from here, but I grew up there as a kid, and it was like, the community center where you have your Wednesday discos and sneak your booze in.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I thought, why don't I look for a place like that, build some flats, build some sets? And so instead of trying to find a museum, which is going to charge a fortune, or another venue, which will charge a fortune,
build one,
find somewhere cheap and build the walls and make it all modular, so you can change 4 walls into a corridor, and
that would be
redress the rooms and stuff. Because building sets and dressing sets don't scare me, but well,
and also when it's a museum, I mean, it could be quite modular anyway, in its design.
People turn a corner and all you've done is redress the sets or swap things over, and people won't really notice. And one guy said to me, I met someone before Christmas, and he was like, hey, I think I can get you a location. I'm like, can you? He's like, Cardiff Museum. I said, forget it, mate.
Sure.
I said, I've spoken to them on a few occasions. They want 150 quid an hour plus VAT. And he's like, no, I get it for free. I'm like, can you though? I
thought of you.
And
2 weeks ago, I thought of you. I had a music video request for a band. I've done videos for them before. Great guys.
Yeah.
And I will definitely do their music video. But they were like, we think it'd be really good. We'll shoot in a museum. I'm like, cool. Like, love to. You will need to speak to them, and there will probably be a significant charge for that. So
that's the problem.
Yeah, I thought of you when they said it. I was like, oh, it's lovely. It's almost that wonderful naivety in a way of like, oh, we'll just go and film in a museum. It's like,
I wanted
it would be nice, but
I first got hold of Cardiff Museum back in about 2008 when I just want to take some photos of a person in a museum holding copies of my books, a sci-fi thing. And
that's a simple request, isn't it?
They were still saying 150 an hour back then, and I'm like, thanks, Doctor Who. Doctor Who filming places like that, they know they can put the price up. But this guy before Christmas said to me, no, you got it all wrong. You need to tell them you've got no money and it's a completely student film. I was like, that's not going to fly with them, because when you march in with a cast of about 20 and
and clearly a budget
and all this kind of stuff, they'll be like, get out, or pay us a fortune. I would rather have know that I've got a place to shoot at, which is this local community center. They bent over backwards to help me. Basically, they're saying, we'll charge you 160 quid a day, which is a 16-hour day.
It's a step up from an hour, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's basically, they said it's £10 an hour. It's £10 an hour. But we'll open at 7 a.m. for you and close at about 11 p.m.
That's amazing.
If it's doable for us, we'll let you shoot overnight as well. On days when there's nothing happening in the week, we'll let you leave all your sets set up. If not, we'll put them all in back rooms securely. And I was like, this is great. If
you can get things left set up, that will save you so much time.
Imagine that, because all the actors turn up at 7 or 8, their call times like 8 o'clock or something. You've got an hour to get everything set up as it was, and lights and everything else. Wow. So again, it's a little bit scary, but like I say, if I had more people on board helping me out with all this logistical stuff, I think it'll go better. So 2 of the actresses are main characters. One is from Cardiff, her name's Ang Harrod, and one is from Bristol, Hannah Clift.
Oh, cool.
I mentioned her before. She's like a one-woman comedy powerhouse. She does festivals and live routines and burlesque dressed up as Shakespeare and stuff.
Sounds like amazing.
She's absolutely incredible. And those 2 have been really getting proactive on their costumes and stuff, so
that's
finding stuff. I said, look, just send me the links. We'll buy it out of the, for your clothes. We'll buy out the budget, etc. And what I'm going to do with Hannah's character, we're going to give her a black MA1, or one of those shiny satin jackets with the orange inside. So I think we used to call them NF jackets back in the day, which is not very politically correct. But basically, it's like an army jacket, but it's made of black satin with orange interior. but most famously worn by Ace from Doctor Who in the 80s. So we're, in fact, I've got them here. We're going to festoon this jacket with all sorts of patches and badges, just like Ace. So it's a
fantastic.
I've got one there. It says "Savvy," life, the universe, and everything.
Nice.
We've got somebody sent me a lot of Aliens Wayland Yutani stuff.
I saw those that you posted those on Instagram, I think.
Yeah, that's right. What's that? As USCSS Azuera. I'm not sure what that is, but it is aliens, isn't it? Yeah. So we're gonna. Oh, there's the good one. I think that's like a cap.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we're gonna throw a few of these on, and then Angharad's character, she's playing our punk, our sort of edgy, badass, don't give a shit punk girl, and I wanted her character to be a little sort of tribute to the character Trash from Return of the Living Dead, played by Linnea Quigley.
Mm-hmm.
And basically Trash's character, she wears like a red leather jacket, and it's got some black patches on it and stuff, and this sort of cut off sleeves and all. So she's just bought a leather jacket on some vintage website for like £7, and we're going to cut it all off and stick leopard print on it and all this kind of stuff. You know, just for one scene, and it's going to be great. And her character Kells, her surname is Quigley, which is obviously named after Linnea Quigley. So I'm tweeting and nagging Linnea Quigley online a lot, going, look, if you're ever doing a convention in the UK, let me know. We'll come up and shoot a cameo. You know, even if she's sitting on a park bench with a newspaper, and the paper comes down, she goes,
we'll get it in there somehow. It will work.
Bloody students, you know, and that's all she needs to do.
Fantastic.
So that'd be fun. So what's the next step for you guys? Because you know, is there like rehearsals, or are you going to just sort of on the day you can run through it a few times before you
run through it a few times on the day for next week? And you know, next week is as much them kind of finding the characters, you know, as it is filming the scenes, really. But we've got a reasonable amount of time. Luckily, January is a very quiet time for the cafe, obviously, so it's the perfect time really for us to go down there and do it.
It gives you all time to get back into the swing of things, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's a nice couple of small controlled scenes with not too many people and nothing crazy going on to really kind of much like the script. You know, we were talking about the script writing last time, weren't we? And I was saying, like you, I can't write an entire script and then come back to it and fix everything afterwards. I need to go through, and Act 1 needs to be perfect before I do Act 2. And
absolutely.
And so I feel the same way. I need a solid couple of scenes that I can edit and get them together, and it'll look good. And I'm like, okay, cool, this is great. Then, and also there's that process as well, where until I've got a scene, even if it's just one scene, I don't know how the movie's gonna look. You know, like I want a scene, and then I can mess about with the colors, and I can mess about with everything. And okay, this is the look I'm going for the film. I have a vague idea, but until you get filming, until you've got something to actually edit, you know, I just want to kind of get that, so get the colors down and get a feel for the film, and just be like, okay, this is the look we're going for, and everything falls into place. I think once you start. You're right,
and I think I'm going to do that as well. Like the reason I asked you about blocks earlier on is because someone suggested to me, why don't you do it in more manageable chunks? You know, rather than going right, we need to raise all the money and shoot it all in a block. On my calendar up there, I've got I've got 3 weeks sort of pencil scribbled out there for the time to shoot in that community center, which would be all the museum stuff. But if I can shoot some of the before and after scenes elsewhere, you know, which will be in people's houses, some are outdoors, etc. Like you said, it might really help to actually give me something to look at and go, right, where are we? What have we got? You know, what's it going to look like once it's edited, etc. And it gives you clues as to how to proceed from there on. So I think that's probably what I'm going to do. It's going to be a bit of a logistical nightmare, but like you said yourself, is try and get characters and actors together in smaller groups to begin with, to get some of those small scenes out the way, but it also gives everyone a chance to get acquainted and get up to speed and
Yeah.
this kind of thing. Yeah, so I'm just looking at my notes here. So did you have to do a lot of recasting?
A reasonable amount. I mean, obviously, you know, like Janie and stuff I kept in contact with, and I knew the old guard were
yeah
100% up for it. So it was all the new people that we'd cast that I wasn't sure were going to stay around. I think only one of them did in the end. So we ended up recasting everyone else. But casting was great. You know, if you ask and you put it out there, I think Jake, who was obviously in Cold Shot, is in this film, and he was fantastic at getting the word out. I mean, he's in a lot of, because he's an actor, he likes acting. He's in a lot of the acting Facebook groups and stuff. And he was like, hey, I can post it in here. And I was like, well, as long as you're absolutely upfront and clear that there's no money in this, it's just for fun. Sure, go ahead. And you know, him doing that, and some other people casting, I guess, out of one of those groups, a casting group got in touch, and they were like, hey, we'll just post it for free and just let people know what you're doing. Oh, fantastic. You know, that's
great, because I mean, I did the same thing when we spoke last time. I think I said something like, I've got all bar 3 of the main cast done. And as soon as I put some calls out on the Facebook groups and stuff, for example, Angharad came on board, and she's done a heck of a lot of stuff, and she's got friends who she could tell them about, and you know, she helped bring people in. And then I cast another guy playing one of the mummies, and he knows like loads of people, and we end up casting everyone from friends of friends, you know. So I'm hoping that all works well. And like you said, I'd like to get a few more people together as soon as it gets, you know, pleasant enough to leave the house. Get some people together. I've met up with Angharad. I've met up with Ben Candy, who's playing one of our bullies, and we've shot some little bits with them as well, just sort of little promo stuff, you know. And so far everything's good, all's all good. But I want to start meeting more people. Like I said, get hold of Hannah in Bristol. She said she's willing to come to Cardiff.
Well, if you end up coming to Bristol, give me a shout.
Yeah, sure, definitely. You know, I know where the waterfront bit is, where that cafe is, so maybe we'll have a cup of coffee in there.
Sure.
So that would be cool, especially as long as it gets warmer and stuff. I'm just checking the time. I've got this.
I've got my eye on it.
1 minute 30 kind of thing. So we'll have to do a redo. Weirdly enough, I'll say to the viewers right now that in the 10 minutes gap we had now between the first half and the second half, I had a message from one of my actors, and they basically gave me a vote of confidence and said, look, don't be too despondent. We've spoken about your film and we're really excited about it, so don't give up. And that does help. Like really I said to you, Rich, before, that when your cast and crew and anyone else connected to your production is very proactive, and you know, they like and share your posts, and they just give you a little bit of moral support, it makes all the difference, right?
It really does. Yeah, really, really does. And yeah, just I think sometimes when you are feeling a bit low on the project, seeing other people's excitement for the project can really pull you back around and pull you back in, and really find that passion again.
Yeah, it really does. And you know, I think there's a bit of worry on my part, because it's like at some point I'm going to have to, you know, pull the trigger on this crowdfunding. And it's like, oh, when is there's no right time to do it. But at the end of the day, I didn't want to do it before Christmas, because like I said, people have got things to spend on, and there's this cost of living nonsense and stuff, and you know, crisis and cold weather and all this other stuff. And it's like, well, maybe I should wait till the spring when people might feel a bit more positive and a bit more willing to give it a thing. But it's a big scary thing. Again, the crowdfunding was a big job with Offworld, and you do need as many people on board doing the sharing, the liking, and you know, you don't have to nag people for money, but just make other people out there aware of what's going on. We did a little event just before Christmas in Taunton. It's a bit of a a bit of a trek for us, really, just out of the way. But we know the guy who ran the event. He used to run a lot of Cardiff Comic Cons, and he did this little event in Taunton Library, and it's about writers and comic artwork and stuff like that. There's a couple of cosplayers there, so I did this kind of raffle. Basically, I got all these like toys and stuff and Funko Pops that I didn't really want, and DVDs and all sorts of bits and bobs. And we put numbers on them, and we just put them in a bag and shook the bag up and said 50p a go. You could win. The biggest prize was my Amazon Kindle Fire tablet that I couldn't get on with. So I just formatted it and said, right, someone else going to, for 50p, you can win that. And there's loads of Star Wars toys and books and stuff. And we came out
carousel,
with,
isn't it? Was it the carousel?
It's like a tombola, isn't it? Where you kind of...
No. I mean, the bloody Kindle Fire tablet.
Oh,
was it the carousel that you couldn't get past? Because I had an early Kindle Fire, and that carousel UI was just horrible.
It was a horrible thing. The first thing I wanted to do with it was to put Firefox browser on there, and I couldn't, for the life of me, couldn't get it to work. And I had to look it up, and apparently Mozilla, who make Firefox, had an argument with Amazon. So Amazon have blocked their apps and stuff.
You have to like side load it and all of that nonsense.
It became a right pain. But some kid got it in the end. He's like, I've got
it was a great
Fire.
idea to do a raffle. Yeah,
good for you. Yeah, and one guy came up. We were right near the end. We had a Star Wars box set of 3 or 4 figures from the Force Awakens or whatever. And this kid was like, Dad, I want that. So the guy's like, all right, how many got 50p? And I'll give you 2 goes for 50p. So I give him 2 tickets. He gives me 50p, and he's like, nope, nothing there. Try again. And he just sat there, 50 until he got it. So he must have given us about 8 or 9 quid, which is still a good price for these figures.
Yeah, I was going to say it still probably would have cost him more if he'd bought.
Probably if he'd gone straight to the shop or eBay or whatever, But it was great. So we came home with, I think after we paid our petrol and some food for the guys who came down with me, we still had 100 quid.
That's great
for a couple of hours in a library, which was quite nice. So there's things like that. We've got to kind of, I've got to look at trying to pull in some more money. I remember saying in the original video that, my budget's going to be 75 grand. And I was confident to the point of stupidity. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure I can get that much. And now my brain's like, do it for the bare minimum. It would have been 75 grand if I wanted to shoot in like a museum or somewhere like that. But now
I think you would have needed it if you were shooting in a
museum. I think 20 grand would have
an
taken 2 weeks shooting in 2 weeks shooting in that place in Newport I was looking at. It's 20 grand. And it's like 8-hour days. And I'm like, I could be shooting this in this community center for 16-hour days for 160 quid. Yeah. Again, I think I've got a tendency of getting carried away with stuff and then sort of come back to it, down to earth with a bump. And weirdly enough, in the last couple of months, you might have seen, it's kind of dawned on me that I probably have ADHD. Right. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I did a lot of reading up over the last couple of months. And, you see these little questionnaires. Do you do this? Do you do that? Do you do this? Tick the ones you... And I'm like a textbook case of adult ADHD. It's not the hyperactivity bit, although I do have, like, it's like brain fog and your brain's ticking over a million times. I mean... proof of that is the way I talk anyway. I go off on tangents like Billy Connolly, and sometimes I never go back to my original. Sometimes I never come back, you mustn't worry about this. Part of this realization of that I'm probably ADHD, I have asked my GP to refer me for an assessment, is a light bulb goes off and you go, that explains so much. So I'm not using it as an excuse.
All the pieces fit, right?
Yeah, you go, oh, that's why I did that when I was a kid. And that's why I was so bad in relationships, because of this, and this. And yeah, I kind of tick a lot of the boxes. And I think my recent despondency with the film is something to do with that, where if you know anything about me, I've got lots of projects on the go at once. And it's not because I'm brilliant at multitasking. It's because of the attention needed to see a project through fizzles out quite quickly, because I love starting things, but I hate finishing them. So I have loads of things on the go. And when I get bored with job A, I get the excitement of starting on job B, and then I go back to job C, and then I go, oh, I'm bored of that one now. Well, there's always job A to do. And then, I start working on them in sequence, as it were. So I think
Yeah.
that's what it is. And with Bloody Students, I had a big run of almost 12 months of getting excited about it, casting, writing, all this kind of stuff. And I think it exhausted me at the end of that. But you did want to talk about my...
Yeah, I said, I don't know if it came up because
yeah,
we talked about it as we were coming to the end of
in
that
the
last
first
recording.
half. I had this up on
I
the table
spotted
back
it.
there.
Yeah, I spotted
well,
it.
I was looking at your Godzilla collection. Then is that a mask? That big one you've got there?
Yeah, it's a mask.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So basically,
But
this
I want to talk about the mummy mask.
Yeah,
first.
this is going to be one of the mummy masks. This, as you can probably tell, it's based on. I mean, it's a silicon rubber, and it's based on one of the White Walkers from Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
You can the giveaway is these wrinkles that come down to the mouth and the cheeks.
Now that you've said it, I can see it.
And also, the White Walkers have horns, and these are where the horns were.
It works quite well though, because it kind of looks like it's kind of bandagey. Yeah.
Yeah. So what? This is made by my mate Clive up in Chepstow, who does all sorts of horror stuff.
A great job.
He sculpted this from scratch. It's not a recast or anything. Originally, it had the horns and everything, and he sold a few to Game of Thrones fans, and he kept the molds. And he said, "Well, do you know what? In order to make these, give these a little bit more of a lifespan, I'll fill the holes up where the horns were in the mold, and sort of just score some lines and stuff over them so they don't look so obvious. And I can cast this up in any color and airbrush it." So I asked him, "Would you do me one in sort of shades of beige and brown and stuff?" So it's about 4 or 5 mil thick, and it's got what's called, what do they call it? Hyper mesh or something like that inside. It's just a very fine mesh that's connected to the inside, which stops it from ripping too or stretching too far. Because if these rip, it's very hard to glue them back together. Silicon's a weird one for gluing. But anyway, it's quite heavy. It's very cold. When you put it on, it's clammy. It feels very much like skin. And inside the mouth, there's a kind of section there that actually goes into your mouth. So it's very hard to talk.
Oh, fantastic. Right.
But yeah, you can put on false teeth and contacts and stuff. So my plan is to basically put most of the mummies in these, wrap them up in bandages, give them contact lenses or black around the eyes, so it's a quick on and off rather than, prosthetics. But for our main Pharaoh character, he's going to be prosthetics and stuff. So I'll try and get this.
Yeah, sure.
There's a way of doing these. You sort of put both hands in first to stretch it evenly rather than trying to sort of, you just don't grab it like that and pull it over because it'll split. So it pulls your hair, but as soon as I get it on, I may not be able to speak, but I'll show you now. All in my hair. Oh, right. Just unfolding my ears and stuff. It doesn't help that I got a polo neck on, but
yeah. No, that really works though, especially for your, not your necessarily your hero, but for the other mummies.
Yeah.
That's going to be perfect, especially with some bandages.
And we've done some filming with it, with me bandaged up, and it looks fine. I didn't black my eyes out or anything, but it moves with your face. As soon as it warms up, it's really comfortable. It's like nice and warm.
Right, just becomes part of your face.
You can see the lips are sort of inside the mouth.
That's amazing.
Oh, yes, I see.
I think that's going to really work. That looks great.
Yeah, it's tight. It's tight enough so you can actually make the face move a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's really good. It's quite expressive, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's great fun. Clive, who makes these, he's got 9 or 10 different zombie types as well, with built-in teeth and different levels of decay and stuff. And he can airbrush them at any color.
That's fantastic.
I was looking at, admittedly, his stuff's good. It's not the best stuff in the world, but if I wanted to get a mask like that from the States, even one straight off the shelf, it'd be between $500 and $800.
I was going to say,
yeah. Clive, obviously, he's in Chepstow, so he's not too far away, and he's cheaper than that. He does, like I say, 9 different types of zombies. Some have like no eyes, some have teeth, some don't have teeth, and he can airbrush them in any color. So if I want some more in gray ones or more fresh ones, etc., he can do all that. But like for what's going to be underneath the pile of bandages, it's a great workaround. And it leaves me, if I've got a makeup artist to do prosthetics and stuff, they don't really have to worry about our 4 mains mummies, which are going to be doubled up anyway.
Just your main,
hero bad guy,
Yeah, I know. It's the only word I could think to use was hero.
Our hero villain, yeah. So that's generally the plan. The costume, I've made the top half of a costume, and that's a learning curve in itself, because first thing, people, if you say to someone, "Oh, hey, put a mummy costume together for a fancy dress party," first thing they'll think of is getting modern day bandages. But mummies didn't use bandages; they used, muslin or whatever, and kind of cotton, and that don't stretch. So if you wrap someone up in something that doesn't stretch, you can't lift your arms, you can't move. I mean,
in fairness, they weren't planning on the move.
No, because they're tight as heck, and like there's no way you'd be able to move in that thing anyway. So it dawned on me that when I was sticking these strips of like a cotton sheet to this long sleeve t-shirt, it got to the point where you think, well, this is either going to be quite baggy for the person to put on and move around in, or you're gonna have to do it in sections. So you need to have do the one arm, but then leave a gap, but just overlap some of the bandages, so you've still got a bit of stretchy material underneath to allow you to move. And so I think what's going to happen is I'm going to have two t-shirts decorated with bandages. One goes on like the front, like just like an apron kind of thing, put your arms through in your chest, and the other one's on the back, so it's in separate pieces rather than. So there's a little bit of stretch going on. So it's weird things. It's like you can think of the logistics of putting someone in a mummy suit. It's a weird one, and there's no way we can do full body prosthetics, which would be awesome. But imagine you hear about 8, 9, 10 hours in the makeup chair for someone getting. I've got a friend in the States who does it professionally for a living, and they made him up head to toe in a kind of Creature from the Black Lagoon shape of water type thing. He said that's the longest he's ever been in the chair, full prosthetics to his face, body, every part of him, head to toe, and loads of airbrushing. It's probably like a 12-hour job. He said it was quite comfortable, but you're completely covered in all this stuff. But after 12 hours in the chair, I just I don't think I'd be in the mood to do an 8 or 9 hour filming day,
Yeah, 9 hours filming, and then
2 or 3 hours to
5,
get it
6
off.
hours to get it back off again. No.
So I mean, one of the original ideas that someone had for Bloody Students was we talked about the possibility of, instead of using mummies, using the sort of medieval or Iron Age peat bog men that were found sort of at the bottom of swamps, and they're brown and they're flat, because they've been squished under all this peat, and I was like, oh, they could be, it's a bit more of a British thing. But A, to explain that to audiences takes quite a while, and B, that would involve some pretty, interesting and expensive costume. I think with mummies, people know what they're getting straight away. You say mummy, and they go, "Ah, Scooby-Doo," So I'll stick with mummies. If we ever do a sequel, we said we'd call it Muddy Students, and we'll go with that and do with the
fantastic
the peat bog men. So going back to the 12th day, that's set around Christmas, isn't it? Was it like the 12th day of Christmas?
Yeah.
Have you got any snow where you are? Because we were talking about snow last time.
We haven't, and to be honest, I don't know that I want snow, because continuity, we don't get enough snow. If we got snow like Canada, I'd be like, cool, let's get some snow and we'll film this movie. We will get I don't know, 4 hours of snow, and then it will be mush, And so we would have to film everything in, you know what I mean?
We had
just
snow
wouldn't
yesterday
work.
and we've got mush today. So yeah, and that's a rare one that we had any snow at all. So
I mean, it'd be nice to have the snow in the air, you know, but yeah, in terms of snow on the ground, I just think that would give me a continuity nightmare. As lovely as it would be, if it, you know, if we had that kind of budget and like a snow machine and stuff, I'd be like, yeah, great, you know.
Yeah, and also,
but it also is set in Bristol. We don't get snow.
No, and if people are walking around in, you know, in forests or whatever, and, you know, before long, all the footprints have sort of crushed the snow away. So continuity would be a right ball ache, wouldn't it? And yeah, I guess. But how Christmassy is your film? Are people going to be having that debate about, is the 12th day a Christmas film or not? Like,
no, it's set over the 12 days of Christmas. So
okay.
you know, that's the point. It is the 12 days of Christmas.
What about music?
So it includes Christmas and New Year. So I guess technically it's not, I mean, it goes into January. So it's not, it's not necessarily just Christmas, but there are Christmassy scenes. So, you know, it's a quote unquote Christmas movie, but yes, it's the 12 days of Christmas. So it goes well into January.
Fair enough. So, like I say, when you've in your previous films, you know, you've had local friends and bands supplying the music and stuff. What's happening with the music this time?
We've got Rich Shillito doing the score primarily. I've got local artists, Mirror Morningstar's given a song already. A few other artists, you know, that are more than happy to, you know, to donate songs. So yeah, it's fantastic. I really like making these films, you know, with local talent, as local as possible. So bands, actors, everything really, if I can get away with it. I'm
doing the same thing. With Offworld, I just scoured the net and I found a young lad who was 17 at the time from Austria who scored the film for us.
Oh, wow.
And he was training under Hans Zimmer. And he since he did Offworld, he's like taken off big time. He's working with the big boys now. But this time round, I thought, well, it's a comedy and it's a horror, but I want to give it a little bit of that. I'm sure you know this, all the kind of the John Carpenter vibe, you know.
Sure.
I like all the synth wave stuff and the slightly retro 80s VHS vibe. So I've got two different. In fact, our special effects guy Gareth Wood is also a synthwave artist as well, and he's put a few tracks together, and he's great at that kind of stuff. But I pulled in a friend of mine who's like a scratch DJ, and he's moving into more kind of cinematic stuff. But he's got a bit of a penchant for synthwave as well. But his is darker because he's into hip hop and stuff. It's sort of slightly more sinister sound to it. But by the same time, I wanted a rock track, as most people who have seen my stuff now will know. I wanted a rock track for the theme of the film. And I got a hold of an all-girl group from South Wales called Haxon. So it's 3 girls, and they've done this song called... they gave me a choice of about an album's worth of songs. And they've got some really fast, badass little songs called... one of them was called Damned If You Do. One of them is called Killing Time, and I thought, well, these all got great titles, you know, for a comedy horror film. But I went with one called Skeletons, which was their single from about 3 years ago now. And although it's not strictly skeletons in my film, a lot of it is about the skeletons in your closet, and some of my characters do have secrets that they don't want to divulge until later on in the film. So it works from a monster point of view and a skeletons in your closet point of view.
Nice.
And they've given us the permission to use that track anyway, when it's not cost us a fortune. So like you say, it's again, in a world where people could say, nah, not interested, why not say yes? Because collaboration is how anybody gets anything done. And if you're going to run into doors slamming in your face all the time, it does destroy your confidence a little bit. But yeah, it's good. It's good that you've got a circle of people and musicians and stuff around you. I think we all, if you like,
a lot of bands as well. I've done music videos for quite a few bands, so I'm kind of, I've got people that have I've helped in the past. So it's like, hey, would you mind throwing a song? So there's an element of that as well.
I'm, if you're anything like me, even when you're not thinking about a film, something will pop up in your day-to-day life, whether you've seen a band or you've seen a
Mm,
location or something. You just file it away in the back of your mind and go,
definitely.
that might come in handy. Or if you hear from
I get that just walking around the city and or somewhere, and you'll just see somewhere, and you're like, oh, that would be really good for a scene like this, or what if this happened here? And even if it's not a movie you're making, you're just like, you can just visualize this.
Yeah,
This,
again, I think it's the visual thing that we seem to have, and some people don't actually have that. And from what I understand of the film business, the people who don't have that visual are the ones in charge of the money.
Yes.
So that's why you got to go work extra hard to convince them of how good your film is going to be. What was I going to say? Yeah, in the 5 months since we talked, I finished the fifth draft of the script, and it's now 20 pages shorter. So
Cool.
it went from 96 to 76 pages. But that 76 doesn't equate to a 76-minute film, because
it never will.
No, because some of the running around and scenes without dialogue are going to take longer, etc.
If you write in a script, Jennifer walks up to the till in the coffee shop.
Yeah.
That takes you seconds to say.
Yeah.
In real time, it's going to be a lot longer for the.
It could be a 15-second walk from A to B.
Get up from the chair, walk over.
Yeah.
That time is the great unknown, isn't it? When you're making a movie, and obviously, ultimately, it comes down to editing. How much of that do you choose to show?
Yeah.
In your final cut. But yeah, I think scripts. I just think especially nowadays, it's not like, you're making feature films for the cinema and or for DVD, and it has to be an hour and a half. Can't be too long, can't be too short. This is as long as the studios want. Nowadays, like, we're just making things, and I think this often with even with the big guns like Netflix and Amazon. I'm like, who cares how long it is? Just make it as long or as short as you want it to be. Just make it the right length for whatever you're making, right?
Yeah.
And I think, like, it could be a 200-page script if it needs to be, or it could be a 40-page script if it needs to be. It's as long as it needs to be.
I mean, I haven't explained some of the battles between the students and the mummies in fine detail. It'll just say
fight.
They fight for a bit, but that can be as long or as short as you like.
Yeah.
So
and a lot of that and the good thing about doing that as well is a lot of that can come down to your budget and your time on the day. You don't want to write and be dead set on this epic scene and then have to.
It might be like that classic Raiders of the Lost Ark scene where they mapped out the fight between the swordsman and Indy Jones, and it was going to go on for ages. And in the end, Harrison Ford had dysentery, and he said, "I'm not up for this. Can I just shoot him?" And they went, "Yeah, go on." Yeah, and it became a classic.
It's one of the most iconic scenes in cinema.
Totally, and like you say, happy accidents and changing your mind on the day and being open to new possibilities.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you're going to try and get the cafe scenes done next weekend. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's
a couple of scenes in the cafe, so get them all done with Saffron, Janie, and Jake. So really looking forward to it. Looking forward to working with Saffron. Never worked with Saffron before.
Okay,
so that'll be fun. We rewrote the script as well. Not. I mean, I'm glad. I'm happy for it, but we had to rewrite the script somewhat because we cast Saffron, who sent a video audition, and I was just blown away. Like, she was amazing, and she's studying to be an actor, so she's going for it. Yeah. But I got this audition. I only looked it up on my phone. Granted, and I don't have the best phone in the world, so I'm making excuses now. I got the video. I was like, fantastic. She's great. Send it to Jay. And I was like, Jay, look, what do you think? And he was like, she's great. Cast. Done. You're cast. And we exchanged emails for a couple of weeks. And and eventually I was like, do you have social media or anything? Because I find emailing really clunky and awkward.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Although she responds straight away via email. But she was, oh, yeah, just add me on here. So I added her. And then as you do, you look on the page, and I was like, oh, she's like 17, 18. And the character's meant to be 30.
Right. Okay.
So it worked out great because obviously we've got a great actress who's very keen to do the movie, but had to change it from Kate's friend to Kate's sister.
Gotcha.
So it was like, oh,
Gotcha.
younger sister, that works. And actually, I think it serves the script better this way. I actually think it works a lot
Yeah.
better. Happy accident, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. I
just
mean,
one of those things. I mean, on a video, you don't necessarily think about it. And then obviously we met properly last couple of weekends ago. And it was like, oh yeah, you definitely don't look 30. There was no way.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a moment, for a little while in my head, I was like, oh, maybe she could just play 30,
Well,
maybe.
I'm the other way around. A lot. My cast are obviously older than sort of late teens, early 20s. I think Jeff, who's playing my main character, he's like 31 now. But he can pull it off. He's young and he's youngish and trendy and all this, and I think he can pull it off. I'm going to make sure all the guys have really clean shaven every morning.
It's the American high school thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like you see this Beverly Hills 90210 and things like that, where they're all in their 30s, but they're playing teenagers.
Yeah, it's just kind of what happens.
Unfortunately, yeah. Well, we're ticking down again on time.
We are. We said we might not use the full time, but here
bizarrely quickly we're ticking down again. But I mean, I'm not going to ask you the usual. So when can we see your film? Because people have said that to me, and I did say in the last video 5 months ago, we're just about to send Off-World to the States, and it hasn't gone off yet.
Okay. I'm really excited to see Off-World. I really am.
Well, put it this way: as a film, it's as finished as it's ever going to be.
Great.
So you will get to see it very, very soon. I just want to get all the supplemental materials now, all the documentary and all these other things that need to go off on a hard drive to the distributor in the States. And once that's done, hallelujah. But we will try and organize a couple of sort of sneaky little previews and screenings here and there.
Nice.
I'd love to see you'll be the first to know, matey.
Thank you. Yeah, I would love to.
Right. Well, I'm gonna wrap this one up now. So it's nice that we finally got to sort of touch base and talk about where we are with our respective projects.
Yeah.
And do
it again in half a year. We'll see
another 5 or 6 months, as we said before. But if you get the block filmed that you want to do, and maybe I'll be further down the line with locations and other stuff like that, perhaps we can catch up again and sort of
well, our first block's going to be
all this
primarily outdoor stuff because it's a winter movie, so anything outdoors we need to shoot while there are no leaves on the trees and it's winter. So that's our first block. Priority is the outdoor stuff.
Okay.
It was either done now or we wait until the end of the year to do that bit. So, while we've got it, we'll try and make the most of that. So
yeah, I'll be the same with my interior stuff. All the museum stuff's got to be done in a big chunk. So there's
time.
Yeah. Anyway, again, thanks for sparing your time.
Oh, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
We'll. It's surprisingly how many viewers this got. A lot of people said, "Oh, you should do some more of these." So like, yeah, we'll do some more.
Oh, well, here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
Some more. No, thank you for having me. And anytime.
Anyway, best of luck with the shoot. And
to you, if you decide to take a break, if you feel you need to take a break, then do it. And I look forward to it when it does come around.
Indeed. Like I say, if I do take a break, I mean, even now, the few messages of support I've had have actually given me a little bit of a kick up the arse to say, look, don't go throwing the baby out with the bathwater. No, just take a break. Just relax, give your brain time to reset, and then you'll find the enthusiasm. The muse will be back, as they say. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to end this now, and we shall see how this goes. I hope this all recorded.
If not, I'll come back.
I'll see you soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Well, as you can see, that was the Zoom call that we had, which I hope you found interesting. I would like to do more of these, actually, with other people, not just Richard, but other people. And you don't have to be a filmmaker, but other actors, writers, artists, whatever, musicians, you name it. So if you're interested, let me know in the comments, etc. And we'll set something up. Anyway, that's all for this week. Take care now. Bye-bye then.